everyone, welcome to week 6. Last week we focused on culture and how leaders shape it. This week we take the next step. How do leaders actually change organizations? Because identifying problems is one thing, but leading change is where leadership becomes real. So by the end of this week, you should be able to understand how change actually works in organizations, identify why change initiatives fail, analyze resistance, and apply leadership strategies to real change situations. So we'll be grounding all of this in the Ford case. So we're going to look at the why. Why does change fail? Most change initiatives fail not because the strategy is wrong, but because execution breaks down. So common issues might be lack of leadership alignment, poor communication, ignoring resistance, and inconsistent follow through. So here's the key insight. Change is not a technical problem. It's a leadership problem. So not all change is going to be the same. Organizations deal with strategic change, cultural change, operational change, and transformational change. The more complex the change, the more leadership is required. Oops, too far. Resistance is completely normal. So people resist change because they fear uncertainty, they feel a loss of control, they don't trust in their leadership, or their initiatives don't align. So instead of asking, why are people resisting, leaders should ask, what's driving that resistance? So this is what this is where leadership becomes critical. So leaders must create urgency, communicate a clear vision, build alignment, and reinforce new barriers. And most importantly, they must model the change themselves. You can't tell someone, hey, start recycling, but you're not going to recycle yourselves. I know that's a very, very plain, simple example, but it's applicable. So now we're going to dive into the Ford case, the second Ford case. So here's how we're going to connect with the case. Before Mullally, leaders hid their problems, accountability was weak, silos dominated, and trust was low. Even with a strategy in place, the organization couldn't execute. So let's look at this. What Mullally did differently is powerful. So first of all, transparency. He introduced the business plan review. Problems were visible, and there's no more hiding issues. Second, one Ford vision. So he aligned everyone around a shared goal. He incorporated accountability. Leaders were responsible for outcomes. And then for consistency, he reinforced those behaviors every week. So this is critical. Change is not one decision. It's repeated leadership behavior. So if we simplify this, Mullally's success comes down to leadership behavior, transparency, consistency, accountability, and alignment. This is what drives real change, not plans, but behaviors. So here are your big takeaways. Change requires leadership, not just a strategy. Resistance is normal. Culture and behavior determine success, and execution is everything. So leadership consistency is what sustains change. So as we dive into our assignments, if we look at your first assignment, it's going to be your discussion. So for your discussion this week, you're doing two things. First is going to be that case analysis. Why did change fail before Mullally? and what made his approach successful. And part two, your personal reflection. Think about a change effort in your organization. What worked and what didn't? So the goal is to connect. We have our theory, we have our case, and then we're going to connect that to your experience. Our second assignment is going to be your leadership brief number 4. So this is your change leadership roadmap. This is one of the most important applied assignments because you're stepping into an executive role. You will need to define a change initiative, analyze resistance, develop a leadership strategy, and create an implementation plan. So students often will say, we need better communication, but that's not enough. You need to answer, what will leaders actually do differently? What behaviors change? What systems reinforce the change? And how do you sustain it? So I'll leave you with this. Change is not about plans. It's about leadership behavior. The best leaders don't just design change, they drive it through consistent action. I'm looking forward to seeing how you're going to apply your assignments. I can't wait to read what your personal experiences were. And of course, if you have any questions, please let me know.